Got that drug money, oh baby. Gotta love those drugs. Guys, see my big box of drugs? Oh shit. Oh shit, selling drugs. Oh shit. If he says he's selling cards, he's really selling drugs. Fucking stupid. My feeds are being fustigated. I always just wonder, like, what is it that people are... Good for you, girl. Big fat girl out here with her visor on and her glasses. She's out here fast walking. Good for her. I hate people that yell shit out the window at people like that. If somebody's out there trying and you're the type of piece of shit to yell out, like, hey, fat ass, something like that, you're a motherfucker. That person finally has the courage, the drive to get out there and go put themselves through some shit because they don't have the natural metabolism you have. So you're gonna talk shit about them. You're gonna try to be that voice that makes them quit. You know what? Fuck this. Just the right. I'm just a fat ass. Just go home. Like, I would never want to be the one that was responsible for that. It said something like that to somebody and made them quit. You tried to get rid of me. Oh, let's see. I bet I can't get rid of you. Like, it's like when you challenge me, I just want to do it. But fuck it, I'll let you stay here and show how stupid you are. I'm okay with it. You're not flying the pedo flag, so... Shit, that was awesome. Don't know if you'll be able to see it. The airplane is taking off. You can't see it anymore. You'll be back. Now see, that's exactly like my point. If somebody blocks me, I don't make fake pages to try to continue to associate or watch that person. That just seems like such a cringy, weird, pedo kind of thing to do. Why would anybody force somebody else to watch them? Or force someone else to engage with them? And you seriously, like, there's nothing else in this world that's better to you than me, that's what you're willing to do? Like, that is some strange shit. Blah, 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 blah. That's the best you can come up with, huh? If you were here for submarines, you'd go watch the first 9 parts. That's simple. You're proving that you're not here for submarines, because even if we were talking about them, you wouldn't say anything that matters. But, you know, you're really smart, so people should take you seriously. And I you know, for me, it's like it's all just a joke. Like, why would anybody even begin to take that seriously? But I hope people see this and, like, this. You try to make sense of it. You try to wrap your head around it. Why would anyone do that? Why would anyone go to a feed, especially a feed like mine, where the stated purpose is that we kill pedophiles, that we stop the genocide, that we remove the chosen cult that runs the show? Like I'm actually really proud of what this whole thing represents. And instead of coming through here and being like, yeah, fuck those pedos, we need to kill those pedos, anything like that, they just say dumb shit. Like, it's such a weird thing. Stop titling things something. I'm too stupid to figure out what titles are. I go to the Shell gas station looking for seashells, and I'm upset every single time they don't have any for sale. It's like, why do you call yourself Shell? Why do you have a shell on your as your logo if you're not going to sell seashells? Wait. The road is called Pennsylvania, but I'm in Michigan. What do you mean, Pennsylvania? So stupid. Such a desperate, like, clownish way to avoid what's actually happening. You shouldn't call your thing something. Don't make it the obvious title of the show and then put the subject matter next to it, part whatever. Don't do that. I can't figure things out. I don't understand. Gets mad when he goes to Burger King and people order chicken sandwiches and shit. What are you doing? This is Burger King. What are you ordering a chicken sandwich for? It's Burger King. Oh my God. Fucking stupid. What's up, Matt? And if you really did want to talk submarines, it's a conversation that's easily had. You just prove you don't want to. I'm gonna make a whole bunch of fake profiles because I give a shit about submarines. I don't care at all about genocide or pedophilia or anything like that. I care about submarines. It's really interesting. The bad part is I know there are actual people who do sort of like see the title and get caught up by it. And I'd love to be able to address real questions and real people's things, but nobody ever asks anything. Nobody ever, what do you mean? Well, if you really want that, if you want the blanket answer, the big long reasons why, you're going to have to go watch a different feed. But if you're really saying you don't understand what titles are, like, that's something strange to me. My band is called the Bilderberg Group. You think it's because we're the Bilderberg Group? Like, do you if you saw that was our band name, would you then think that we deal in global politics and not understand why we would talk about anything else? Is that really how you're... Oh, shit! You guys! Oh, shit! Oh, you guys are gonna freak out here. You guys think I should go to the Shell and go see if they have any shells for sale? Because that's the name of the place. And look, the logo, they have a shell on their logo, so that must mean they sell seashells, right? I mean, isn't that how that works? Look, I mean, it's a shell. What do I do, guys? What do I do? I don't understand what titles are. Speaking of shells, speaking of fossils, you guys don't believe that shit, do you? How come nobody ever finds any half fossils? Nobody ever finds something that's like halfway through the process. What process turns organic matter into stone? I'd love to know that. I know there's like a specific explanation for certain things where like a very specific set of circumstances has to happen for this to sort of work out. Like they say the petrified forest, the only one that exists is because a bunch of trees were knocked down. There was a volcano. It covered everything in ash. And then for years, the rain soaked down through the volcanic material and replaced all of the molecules of the organic material with silica, with rock, turned it all into crystal. And then it got pushed up out of the ground again. So like there's all these very specific circumstances that are said to have happened to make this one thing happen, which is just bullshit to begin with, you know. But you believe it. You believe anything they want you to. Let's see. Technically, the Jew is the party of... You gave an argument. No, you really didn't. You're a scholar, and you're saying an argument, blah, blah, blah. Look at the dumbass nonsense. Just dumb nonsense. This is what happens when people aren't prepared to be able to have an argument. They react to something with a knee-jerk feelings reaction. But they don't know anything about this shit. You guys don't know a lot of shit. And I didn't know a lot of shit until I looked into it. But you don't know, like, you don't know things. You don't know the fossil argument. You really don't. You just believe it because you found fossils and you've maybe seen a little this or that, but you've never actually thought about this idea that organic matter can turn into stone. Like, you must not know what happens to organic matter as soon as it dies. As soon as it dies, it starts breaking down and decaying. If you've ever been, like, you know, someplace like here where you drive down the road and you see dead animals all the time, within the first day or two, that raccoon or whatever it is blows up like a balloon. It gets huge. And then depending on whether somebody runs it over or just enough time passes that the orifices finally break, then all the shit, like, they like explode, and like all the body chemical, all the body juices and parts come squirting out all the different orifices. And then it flattens out. It never stays in this perfectly, you know, dead position where nothing breaks it down or anything like that. And you know, it then can become a perfectly accurate stone replica of what it once was when alive. That's not what happens to organic material when it dies. But this is another one of those things where we're off in an argument where it really just comes down to your acceptance of belief or not. You don't require, for the people that believe in Jesus for no fucking reason, to then, you know, either deny obvious evidence or not require evidence for, you know, They just believe stuff without like it's weird. You believe in the craziest fucking nonsense, the craziest nonsense. Your religious shit is just, it's fucking insane. It's crazy that anybody would ever still in 2025 believe such obvious nonsense. But you believe it, and you believe it without any reason. And yet, you know, you don't have that same sort of just blind faith when someone like me is reading to you the narrative they want you to hear and it contradicts what you believe. You just shut it down with your, you know, your lack of knowledge. You have this arrogance about you that makes you think you know all these things. You happen to have studied all these things. You're a submarine expert. I'm sure you are. How come none of the submarine experts just come on here and start fucking rallying off shit? How come they don't come on here and start explaining how the whole thing works? It's really just, it's all the same shit. We're these arrogant little monkeys who don't want to think we're monkeys and who think we know everything. So many of you arrogant fuckers, like so many of you are going to be smart enough to see the Epstein tape that was presented to you and be like, that is absolute horseshit. There's no fucking way I would ever believe that tape shows me anything, let alone proves the narrative that the system gives us. So many of you will go down that route. But then you go get your shots. Or you go, you go to church. Or you believe in Trump. Or, any of these things. Like, you're so arrogant, you think you can pick and choose which things they're telling you the truth on and which things are bullshit. And people don't want to acknowledge that, right? People don't want to acknowledge that they are arrogant. That they believe nonsense just because they want to. Everybody believes what they want to believe. They don't believe things because they have evidence to believe those things. More oftentimes than not, if they were to just go look for the evidence to substantiate their belief, they'd be shocked. They'd be shocked by what they find and how stupid the narrative that they're given is. The submarine thing is one of those funny things where it's not like anyone else is saying this. It's not like this is a popular conspiracy or question in most people's minds. I had to break from the pack. And it was one of those things where I just was like, hey, I have this sort of ridiculous idea because they don't quite make sense to me. It seems really impossible, especially considering, they lie to us about space travel and all that shit. So what if they're lying about this thing too? And when I went to look into it, it wasn't like I read the narrative that I'm supposed to have and thought, oh man, this makes all the sense. I guess I was just being foolish. Clearly these things exist and there's nothing to see here. It didn't work that way. It was shocking. But it's also shocking too when there's video evidence of me reading the Wikipedia pages regarding these things. You know, the guy who invented the suspension bridge, the Allegheny Aqueduct suspension bridge. There's video of me reading you what it used to say. And to think it says something different now is just shocking. It's, you know, all of the evidence has been removed. By whom? For what? Like, who made that decision? Yeah, I'm making everyone lose brain cells, right? Because I make you guys be here, just like YouTube makes you be here. I love when people try to blame it on YouTube. Well, I've been sitting here watching you for hours because YouTube suggested it. And I do as I'm suggested. There was nothing else being suggested by YouTube. I came back here for the 25th time in a row to spend hours here because of YouTube, goddammit. This is what they do, man. Instead of actually making any arguments to counter anything I'm saying, it's just dumb shit. They're hoping to appeal to the dumb fucking, the lowest common denominator. They're hoping you're not smart enough to see what's going on. Why would anybody waste this much effort on somebody they don't like? Especially if that person happens to be like, we should kill pedos. We should eliminate the J cult. We should stop this genocide. Like, who opposes those things? What reasonable, decent person, like if you were talking to somebody and they were a longtime friend of yours, and you were like, yeah, man, we need to do something about these pedophiles, and they changed the subject, or they attacked you, or they, you're crazy, there's no such thing as that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? We need to stop this genocide. Fuck that. There's no need to stop this. There's no genocide. We shouldn't even talk about it. What are you talking about? Like, you would be close to writing your friend off, especially the pedophile stuff. If they were, nonchalant about the pedophiles, I don't care about that stuff. You'd be quick to be like, hey, I don't think we should be friends anymore. You're a sick motherfucker. And yet, we're supposed to believe that there's all these real-life people hiding their identities and mad at me for talking about these things, right? That's not much of a secret. Quite the opposite. You guys are out in the open. Yeah, for sure. And the evidence is your existence to begin with. That you're here, you're disruptive, you're angry, and I'm that guy. I'm the guy that I don't hesitate to express a desire to kill them all. You would think like you know who I am, especially since you've been here for so many days in a row. And yet, you want to act like again, I don't expect a lot of you to come in here and be like, yeah, we're pedophiles. We think, you're not going to out yourself that way. At least not all of you. Dr. Stephen Jaffe did it. But that was just a fake profile, probably. But you're not going to come out and out yourself. So people have to be willing to read between the lines here. Look at the evidence that's presented to you. So I have this stated goal, these stated goals, and there's this mysterious group of really obsessed and loyal detractors that are mad at me for some reason. I mean, there's no real There's no real given reason why they're here, but they leave you to figure it out. They're not going to answer the question, why are you here? And if they say something stupid like submarines, it's like, yeah, well, if you really, again, it's such an easy thing. If you really cared about submarines, you just go watch the first 9 parts and debunk it. I mean, it's really simple. But that's never a thing. It's like, this is all really obvious. I think one of the greatest tricks they did to us, one of the greatest weapons that they have, is our own belief. Most people believe that the system is just the conspiracy is just too complicated. It's too complicated. It has too many working parts. It's too, you can't possibly understand it because it's so complicated and all this bullshit. When the reality is, it's all really obvious. It's all right in front of your fucking face. Seriously, who is going to spend their Sunday morning watching me because they hate me so much? And not express why they hate me, but seemingly want me to stop talking about killing pedos and stop talking about the Israel stuff. I mean, you would think it would be pretty easy. Like, you would think you would ask somebody, well, why are you here? What's your motivation? And then they would give you an answer. So just something that simple. And if you look at things that simply, and you say, okay, that's how it should work. So then what would be the reason it doesn't work that way? And you have to start, it's the forensic engineer perspective. Dr. Judy Wood. Dr. Judy Wood has the best 9/11 perspective that I've seen. And she said that as a forensic engineer, she wouldn't want to know what other people's perspectives were. She would go to building collapses and wouldn't want to talk to anybody, wouldn't want to talk to the police. She wouldn't want to hear what other people thought, because most people, when they see a building collapse, they think the building collapsed because of this, and then that's the narrative that they then try to prove. And in doing so, they ignore a bunch of shit that goes against what they want it to be. So by going into it and just letting the evidence tell you what the narrative is, not listening to other people, just look at what's presented to you, you can formulate a pretty accurate picture of what you're dealing with. So it's something as simple as you ask somebody, well, what's your motivation? Why are you here trying to be such a deterrent, trying to be such a nuisance? What motivates you to come to this feed in the first place and then stay here and come back day after day after day for hours on end? And they don't answer it. They just refuse to give an answer, or they say something stupid like, well, this is just entertaining. It's entertaining to have someone call you a pedophile and point out how stupid you are over and over again. And if you're saying that I'm more entertaining than anything on TV, anything on YouTube, Hulu, any of the platforms that exist to watch things, I'm more entertaining than any video game you could be playing, any porn you could be watching. I'm more entertaining than all of that. That's supposed to be some sort of negative. Why would I ever be like, oh, wow, that hurts my feelings that you say I'm the most entertaining Sunday morning, and instead of going to church, you're here getting guyanized. That's supposed to hurt my feelings? But like I say, if you ask these people why they're here, what is your motivation? Why are you trying, like, you're not, these trolls aren't trolling their local newscaster and demanding that the newscaster expose the pedophilia in the church or the latest pedophile story that came out in whatever town it is. They're not demanding that the news start saying the right things when it comes to Israel. They're not even trolling the newscaster at all. They're not trolling the public agent. They're not trolling someone that actually matters. They've just randomly supposedly found my feed that is talking about killing pedos, ending genocide, and stopping the J cult. And this is it. This is all they want to do. Doesn't matter when I go live throughout the day. They will drop whatever they're doing and come here for hours on end begging for my attention by saying stupid shit. Because they could absolutely get my attention. If they actually made an argument, that would get my attention. It might even get my respect if it's a decent argument. But that's not what they want. And they don't clearly want to talk about submarines, because you could easily go watch the submarine video. Me being live shouldn't really matter to you that much. Going and watching the previous videos actually makes more sense, because you can pause the videos, you can go look things up, you can address the comments in whatever time it takes for you to do it, not be stuck in this situation where there's rapid fire stuff going, coming through. It works to your advantage. And so I'm only talking to the other real people here. Like, ask yourself what's going on. That this is what ends up happening instead. Convince me the earth is round. I can't. I wouldn't even attempt to. Convince me that Christianity wasn't made by and for pedophiles. How many times should I have to be able to ask, what are you here for? What motivates you to be here and spend all your time here and not actually address anything that's said and just talk shit? You don't have to answer those questions, though, right? We should take you seriously, but you don't have to answer for anything. And I can actually answer that question for people. To me, if you look into Team Jorge, it answers the question pretty significantly. That it's a bot, centralized bot farm, a centralized controlled bot farm out of Israel to attack people that speak negatively about Israel and the Jays and all that stuff. And that answers for about 90% of it. Because it's all just the same stupid, repetitive, pull cord responses that don't actually address anything. And then every once in a while, you seem to have a profile that has more of a personal touch to it. And that easily goes to Act IL. And not saying it's directly Team Jorge or directly Act IL. These are just individual examples. This is just one little piece. Team Jorge was just one Israeli Black Ops organization that was exposed. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of Black Ops organizations out of Israel, well-funded, evil-intended, with evil intentions and all that. They're everywhere. But I'm just showing you one example. So you have to multiply that example by hundreds, if not thousands. And the same thing with Act IL. It was an app that they used. But they shut the app down because they said they just had everything on social media instead. They encouraged the users to just go through social media instead. This is the absolute, unquestionable truth, like this absolutely exists, there's no argument to the contrary, and it happens to explain what's happening a lot more than these dumb profiles that refuse to acknowledge why they're here to begin with. I provide a better example for why these people are here than they can. And this is how you have to like break it all down. You have to see it for what it is. They're lying. That's all they do is lie. You can literally catch them up in many, many lies that have been presented to us. Like on TV, it's well documented. The whole, Desert Storm, or not Desert Storm, the whole Iraqi war, because war on Iraq, the war on terrorism. That's literally all fostered by Netanyahu's lies about key weapons of mass destruction. There's actually a video of Bush cracking jokes about it. Where are those weapons of mass destruction? I know they're over here somewhere, and the group laughs. Are they over here? Are they over there? The whole group of AIPAC fucking servants, they just laugh. What proof do you have that your way of thinking is true? And the thing is, most people have such a hard time expressing what their way of thinking is to begin with. You ask people like, why do you support Trump? Why do you believe the narrative that we're given regarding our government and how everything works? Like, what makes you think that's true? They flat out showed you 2016 that your vote doesn't matter. 2,700,000 plus more people voted for Hillary than they did Trump. And yet, the person that got the most votes because the AIPAC swamp that Trump promised to drain put him in office anyway. And Hillary didn't say shit about it. She was like, all right, I'm out, see ya. I'm gonna go do a speaking tour with my husband that is hosted by Ben Stiller. And we're gonna go around and do this where we sit across from each other and we talk about stuff. I get paid $100,000 per appearance or some shit like that. She had the option to be the first female president ever. Like, she would have gone down in all of the annals of history as forever and ever, they would have talked about Hillary Clinton, the first female president. And instead of gaining forever infamy, she just gave up. She was like, okay, I know I got the most amount of votes, but you say I didn't win, I didn't win. That's how it works. I don't want to argue. You say it is, it is. You say it isn't, it isn't. Who am I? Look at this motherfucker. And then they had the audacity to, after the fact, tell you that you have to be locked down You cannot see your loved ones, your grandparents that are in the old folks' homes. You know, you can't, if they die, they die. It sucks for you. Sorry to hear that. You can't see your elderly ones you love. COVID is so bad that we can't do anything. Everything sucks. You're just fucked. You're just fucked in every aspect of life.
Is that guy a dick?
No.
Okay, good. Because he kept messaging me. He's still not here. He's still not here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. He's still not here. Like, fucking wait, Jack, you know?
But what you could do is stand in a long line at a voting center where you're, front to back with people, and you then go use the same voting machine that other people use and breathe in all that COVID air. You were allowed to do that. You just weren't allowed to see your loved ones. You know, it's all just a ruse. It's a manipulation. It's there to trick you into thinking certain ways. I've shown you now how, according to the narrative, Israel wouldn't exist without Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell being Ghislaine's dad. Ghislaine being the handler of Epstein. Epstein being the guy that has evidence on everyone. Epstein is the reason why we had COVID. Without COVID coming and just completely distracting everyone, Epstein being the first person to die in that prison under those circumstances in like 40 years, and everything else associated with it would have been front page. Like they wouldn't have been able to hide it. Ricky Gervais, him saying that shit. Essentially killing his career. He definitely hasn't had a lot of work since then. But it was right there. We were so close, and they played the COVID card. And they shut us down. They made us hate each other. They made us focus on hating our brothers and sisters and family and just some literally like invisible boogeyman bullshit, instead of what is easily the most explosive story in political history. I mean, I don't even know. Look at all the square clouds. Square cloud, perfectly right angle. Square cloud, perfect right angle. Square cloud, perfect right angles. Gotta love all the square clouds. You don't think about it though, so don't worry. The Epstein, and it's crazy too, because like when you look at the oh fuck, I forgot what I was saying. Oh well. I mean, just it's all such. Oh yeah, the Andrew thing, and you look at how the Prince Andrew trial Virginia Giuffre was saying how she's not going to take any money. She's going to take this to the fullest. She's going to, you know, she wants to get everybody in trouble. This isn't about money. This is about getting the people in trouble, blah, 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 blah. And then out of the blue one day, she's given $16 million or 16 million pounds. I can't remember which one it is. Sorry. And she just disappears. She takes the money and goes. And she's not heard of for years. She's completely disappeared for years until she shows up in Australia talking about how she's in fucking kidney, like the whole story. I don't even remember the exact details, but she was supposedly involved in a bus accident, and then like within a month all these crazy things happened, and she thought they were trying to kill her, and then she commits suicide. Oh. She just that one last little loose end is just nipped and doop, 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 doop. And who's to say she's really dead? Don't know. She's just taken out of the matrix, if you will, out of the lexicon. So there's no slip ups. But there's video footage to show Epstein's still alive. Did you guys know that there was drone footage from August 30th that appears to show Epstein on Epstein Island? Goes over his head and he looks up at it. You guys seen that shit? I mean, it's really fucking crazy. Get out of here, B. I'm really interested to see what the Wikipedia biography now looks like for Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Edward Epstein, born January 20th, 1953, died August 10th, 2019. Yeah. And if you look at like August 10th, 2019, then we have the military games that you'd never heard of till prior to this that happened in Wuhan, China. You had Event 201 or whatever it was called that started the same day as the military games and dealt with what to do during pandemics. Like it's all just such almost insulting, right? It's insulting how brazen they are, how you know, how bold they are, and they just put it out here like this, and they're like, yeah, you dumb goyim won't figure it out, and even if you do, we've trained you to hate each other so much that it won't matter. Like, it's wild. It's wild. Jeffrey was an American financier and child sex offender. He was an American financier, though nobody can find like where it all came from and how it all worked out and what he actually did. Born and raised in New York City, Epstein began his professional career as a teacher at the Dalton School, despite lacking a college degree. Now again, I'm sure they're going to take out the part about William Barr's father. After dismissal from the school in '76 for fucking messing with kids, he entered the banking and finance sector, working at Bear Stearns in various roles before starting his own firm. Epstein cultivated an elite social circle and procured many women and children with whom he and his associates sexually abused. Oh, by the way, this page is locked. There is no, anybody can edit this page. Nope, sorry. That argument's null and void here. So again, ask yourself, looking at the comment section, what kind of piece of shit is going to be trying to prevent, interfere, disrupt this conversation about Jeffrey fucking Epstein? Seriously. What regular person do you know that goes, I don't want to talk about this? I come to the feed where the guy's talking about this, but I'm going to try to get him to talk about something else. Why do you want to hear me talk about something else so badly? What is it about me that has you wanting to hear me so badly? And what is it that you want me to talk about instead? Don't say submarines, because you don't want that. We've already shown that you don't want that. Cause of death, suicide by hanging. You have to be such a fucking dumbass to believe that story. The notion that he tied one of these special suicide-proof blankets around his neck, got down on his knees, tied the other end of the blanket to the bottom part of the bed, and leaned forward while on his knees to the point where he hung himself, that is not a believable story. You have involuntary reflexes that you would have to be able to overcome to even begin to choke yourself like in that position successfully. But to do it so badly you break your hyoid bone, that's just not a thing. That's not how that works. What the fuck? All right. In 2005, police in Palm Beach County, Florida, began investigating Epstein after a parent reported that he had sexually abused her 14-year-old daughter. Federal officials identified 36 girls, some as young as 14 years old and younger, with whom Epstein had allegedly sexually abused. Epstein pleaded guilty and was convicted in 2008 by a Florida state court of procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. He was convicted of only these two crimes as part of a controversial plea deal and served almost 13 months in custody, but with extensive work release, meaning he was only supposed to sleep at the prison. He had an all-day work pass. For 7 days a week, had an all-day work release program. And he was supposed to come back to the prison and sleep, but they say he only slept at the prison like once or twice. Epstein was arrested again on July 6, 2019 on federal charges for the sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York. He died in his jail cell on August 10th, 2019. The medical examiner ruled that his death was a suicide by hanging. Really? Epstein's lawyers have disputed the ruling, and there has been significant public skepticism about the true cause of his death, resulting in numerous conspiracy theories. Dun, dun, dun. Again, who's mad about me reading this right now? Who's going to be upset? The FBI stated in 2025 that it would release video evidence supporting the conclusion that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in his jail cell. However, when the DOJ released the footage in July 2025, 1 minute of footage was missing, and the video was found to have been modified despite the FBI's claims that it was raw. Yeah, not only is 1 minute of footage missing, the camera angle changes. This is a stationary camera. This is a camera that is enclosed in a very protected enclosure because it's in a prison. So it's like a camera inside of a box. So what do you hope to get by this? If I say yes, I'm almost done, then what? Does that make you feel better? Okay, then yes, I'm almost done. But the idea that the camera angle changed, There's a minute worth of footage missing. But the thing that nobody's talking about is that there's no reason to believe that footage is authentic anything. It's not like there's some close-up of Epstein's face that you can clearly see and you know it's him in the footage. So that's that's how this works. They have you distracted by they did the minute missing on purpose. They did the camera angle on purpose. So then you're thinking, well, it's still a video. Like you're thinking the video is legit because of the mistakes. You're not at all saying, how the fuck do we know when this video was? They've had 6 years to make this video. And the people providing it are the liars who have something to gain, right? Since Epstein's death precluded the possibility of pursuing criminal charges against him, a judge dismissed all criminal charges on August 29th, 2019. Boy, that was quick. Stormy Daniels, her defamation suit is buried in the fucking court system. They can't get it to go through. Even with all the money and power and all that shit. But 19 days after he's dead, the judge is dismissing all the charges and shit, right? Get out of here, B. Epstein had a decades-long association with the British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, who recruited young girls for him. That's what you think. Leading to her 2021 conviction on U.S. federal charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy for helping him procure girls, including a 14-year-old, for child sex abuse and prostitution. And them alone, that's it. Nobody else is included in this sex trafficking ring. The Discord group that you guys talk about how you're gonna get your ass kicked the next day. Early life. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born on January 20th, 1953 in the Brooklyn borough of New York City. His parents, Pauline Paula Stolovsky, 1918 to 2004, and Seymour George Epstein, 1916 to 1991, were Jewish and had married in 1952, shortly before his birth. Gee, I wonder why they got married. Looks like she was pregnant. Pauline worked as a school aide and was a homemaker. Paula was a wonderful mother and homemaker, despite the fact that she had a full-time job, according to a former childhood friend of Epstein's, of course. And she had got the military cross, and she was there on the beaches of Normandy, and she was, family was killed in the Holocaust, and all that other bullshit too, right? Seymour worked for the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation as a groundskeeper and a gardener. Such humble beginnings. Such humble beginnings. Jeffrey was the older of two siblings. He and his brother Mark grew up in the working class neighborhood of Seagate, a private gated community in Coney Island, Brooklyn. So, a school aide and a gardener lived in a gated community. That makes about as much sense as a boy from Kentucky going to Yale. Think about how crazy that is. Epstein's mother was a school aide and a homemaker. Epstein's father was a gardener, and they lived in a gated community.
It's crazy.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Lots of gardeners, live in gated communities.
Oh yeah.
And you know how teachers make a shit ton of money, so their aides are making even more, right? Does that make sense to you? Epstein attended local public schools, first attending public school 188, and then Mark Twain Junior High School nearby, and usually earned money by tutoring classmates. Acquaintances considered Epstein sweet and generous, although quiet and nerdy, and nicknamed him Epi. He was just an average boy, very smart in math, slightly overweight, freckles, always smiling, a female friend said later. In 1967, Epstein attended the National Music Camp at the Interlochen Center for the Arts. Again, it's pretty amazing. The gardener was able to do this. He began playing piano when he was 5 and was regarded as a talented musician by friends, of course. He graduated in 1969 from Lafayette High School at age 16, of course, having skipped 2 whole grades. Later that year, he attended advanced math classes at Cooper Union until he changed colleges in 1971. From September 1971, he attended the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences at New York University, studying mathematical physiology, but left without receiving a degree in June of '74. At age 21, Epstein started working in September 1974 as a physics and math teacher for the teens at the Dalton School on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Donald Barr, who served as the headmaster until June of '74, right? He left school in June of '74. So that means, he left school because he knew. Was known to have made several unconventional recruitments at the time, although it is unclear whether he had a direct role in hiring Epstein. Oh, that's new. 3 months after Barr's departure, Epstein began to teach at the school despite his lack of credentials. And just so you know, Donald Barr was an American educator, writer, and Office of Strategic Services officer. He was an administrator at Columbia University before serving as the headmaster at the Dalton School in New York City and the Hackley School in Tarrytown, New York. He also wrote 2 science fiction novels. His sons are former U.S. State's Attorney General William Barr, U.S. State's Attorney General William Barr, and physicist Stephen Barr. Just so you guys don't, because I say this part all the time and no one talks about it. William Barr is who decided that Epstein's case wasn't worth an investigation. And he clearly knew Epstein the whole time. Let's see, wait. Donald Barr, William Barr. Born May 23rd, 1950. And Epstein was born in 53. So he was a few years older than Epi. That makes sense to you? I don't know how I missed this, but private gated community in Brooklyn. Epstein was referred to as Bear by his parents, while Mark was known as Puggy. Neighbors described the Epstein family as being so gentle, the most gentle people. Let's see. Epstein allegedly showed inappropriate behavior towards underage female students at the time, paying them constant attention, and even showing up at a party where young people were drinking, according to a former student. He was made he was a fucking professor. Or he was a physics and math teacher at the super prestigious Dalton Academy. The guy that has a predilection for teen girls. Think about this shit, man. Yep. Rambling nonsense. Yep. This is rambling nonsense. Reading to you the narrative you're supposed to know is rambling nonsense. Again, this is a locked page. Can't edit this page. Other former students also often saw him flirting with female students. Eventually, Epstein became acquainted with Alan Greenberg. Oh, well, we'll just skip over. Okay. The chief executive officer of Bear Stearns. How? How did you just get that? You know, you're this guy who's getting in trouble for fucking with teenagers at the school that you're a teacher of, so you get introduced at Bear Stearns, and it's like, okay, don't worry, we'll get you out of this pickle, and we'll just bring you into Bear Stearns. Executive officer whose son and daughter were attending the school. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. So his son and daughter were attending the school where the guy is being accused of flirting with and inappropriate relationships with girls at the school. So you go, oh, hey, that's a nice guy. That's a guy I want to meet. Let me bring him into, like, seriously, this is the narrative you're given. And I almost fear that they watch me so they can have me read shit like this and like proofread it for them. Because within a couple of days, this part will be removed. Greenberg's daughter, Lynn Copel, she has a completely different last name apparently, pointed to a parent-teacher conference where Epstein influenced another Dalton parent into advocating him to Greenberg. How? This is just... This is fucking stupid. Do you not get how stupid this is? The parents at the school where he was being accused of inappropriate relationships with students were instrumental in him moving to a different position, a much higher position. In June of '76, so exactly 2 years later, after Epstein was dismissed from Dalton for poor performance, Greenberg offered him a job at Bear Stearns. How? How the fuck does that work? Why would, so I'm supposed to believe that it's not Israeli, tech and Israeli bots and Jays on their media, their Act-IL type profiles that are here trying to distract and trying to disrupt this feed. It's real people hearing this and going, yeah, this part doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Talk about why you believe submarines. That's what's more important than this. Epstein joined Bear Stearns in '76 as a low-level junior assistant to the trade floor. He swiftly moved up to become an options trader, working in the special products division, and then advised the bank's wealthiest clients, such as Seagram president Edgar Bronfman, on tax mitigation strategies, on how to cheat the system. Jimmy Kane, the bank's later chief executive officer, praised Epstein's skill with wealthy clients and complex products. In 1980, 4 years after joining Bear Stearns, Epstein became a limited partner. In 1981, Epstein was asked to leave Bear Stearns for, according to his sworn testimony, being guilty of a Reg D violation. Securities Act. Any offer to sell securities must either be registered with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or meet certain qualifications to exempt them from such registration. Reg D contains the rules providing exemptions from the registration requirements, allowing some companies to offer and sell their securities without having to register their securities with the SEC. So, fraud. He was committing fraud, and he was helping his people commit fraud. Even though Epstein departed abruptly, he remained close with Kane and Greenberg and was a client of Bear Stearns until its collapse in 2008. In August of 81, Epstein founded his own consulting firm, International Assets Group's IAG. Bet you've heard that before. Which assisted clients in recovering stolen money from fraudulent brokers and lawyers. Epstein described his work at this time as being a high-level bounty hunter. He told friends that he worked sometimes as a consultant for governments and the very wealthy to recover embezzled funds, while at other times he worked for clients who had embezzled funds. Spanish actress and heiress Ana Oberon was one such wealthy client whom Epstein helped in 1982 recover her father's millions in lost investments, which had disappeared when Drysdale government securities collapsed because of fraud. So where did that money then come from? Epstein also stated to some people at the time that he was an intelligence agent. During the 1980s, Epstein possessed an Austrian passport that had his photo, but with a false name, which is super illegal. The passport showed his place of residence as Saudi Arabia. It's all connected. In 2017, a former senior White House official reported that Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney from the Southern District of Florida, who had handled Epstein's criminal case in 2008, had stated to interviewers of President Donald Trump's first transition team, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, and that Epstein was above my pay grade." By who? How does that not trigger an investigation? This isn't some conspiracy theorist. This is the senior White House official, or no, this is the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who was the one that handled the Epstein case and gave him the, quote, sweetheart deal. During this period, one of Epstein's clients was Saudi Arabian businessman Adnan Khashoggi. Oh my God. Adnan Khashoggi, you know, the reporter that went to the Turkish embassy. Video showed him walking in, and then video showed a guy that kind of looked like him wearing his clothes but different shoes walking out. And he was never seen or heard from again. And it was all blamed on the Saudis, but it was denied. And then finally it came out that, yeah, they did it. And then there was a point where Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all shut down for a couple of hours a few years back. And they never gave a reason why. But according to a lot of people, video of the dismemberment of Adnan Khashoggi had been released and was circulating. And they had to shut the shit down to be able to scrub it. But it eventually came out that he was dismembered, each piece was put into a barrel of acid and buried in the desert somewhere. And this was a dual Israeli citizen, like super high level, but he was super critical of the Saudi Arabians. And at the time, the news and everybody else was like, well, what are you going to do about this, Trump? This guy was pressed. Press is off limits. He's a man, so unlike Shireen Abu Akleh, it didn't matter. And he was a Jew, so it was even more important, right? Trump said he wasn't going to pursue anything because he was working on a $2.3 or $3 billion, $2 billion weapons deal with the Saudi Arabians at the time and didn't want to mess that up. So Nothing ended up happening from that. So now you have Adnan Khashoggi being connected to Epstein, who was the middleman in transferring American weapons from Israel to Iran as part of the Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s. It's funny how the Iran-Contra affair is not talked about at all right now. When I was a kid, the Contra scandal was all over the news. And the idea that Iran was being given weaponry by Israel through the United States, like, it's all just so stupid. We were giving Israel the weapons so they could then give them to somebody else through us. Like, it's all really stupid. But it just shows you how connected it all is. This guy wasn't in prison. This guy didn't lose all credibility. This guy wasn't, he was a very wealthy, well-respected reporter at the time of his death. Khashoggi was one of several defense contractors that he knew. In the mid-1980s, Epstein traveled multiple times between the United States, Europe, and Southwest Asia, aka the Middle East. Never heard of it referred to as Southwest Asia. While in London, Epstein met Stephen Hoffenberg. They had been introduced through Douglas Leese, a defense contractor, and John Mitchell, the former U.S. Attorney General. Stephen Hoffenberg hired Epstein in 1987 as a consultant for Towers Financial Corporation, unaffiliated with the company of the same name founded in 1998 and acquired by Old National Bank Corp in 2014. A collection agency that bought debts people owed to hospitals, banks, and phone companies. Bought debts people owed to hospitals, banks, and phone companies. Hoffenberg set Epstein up in offices in the Villard House in Manhattan and paid him $25,000 per month for his consulting work, equivalent to $69,000 a month in 2024.
Is it Harmony?
Yes. With the air conditioning on.
Is she in there?
Who?
Steph.
No, it's not Steph's car.
Oh.
I don't think. Hoffenberg and Epstein then refashioned themselves as corporate raiders using Towers Financial as their raiding vessel. One of Epstein's first assignments for Hoffenberg was to implement what turned out to be an unsuccessful bid to take over Pan American World Airways in 1987. Hey, isn't Trump associated with that?
Oh my God, there were keychains yesterday that said "fuck Trump" in big white letters.
A similar unsuccessful bid in 1988 was made to take over Emory Air Freight Corps. Why are they telling me about his unsuccessful ventures? I never understand that. In all of these YouTube things, or all of these Wikipedia articles, they talk about their unsuccessful ventures way more than they talk about what they were successful in.
Well, it's because Trump doesn't have a successful
This isn't Trump, this is Epstein.
venture list.
During this period, Hoffenberg and Epstein worked closely together and traveled everywhere on Hoffenberg's private jet. Because again, that just, okay. In 1993, Towers Financial Corporation imploded when it was exposed as one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history, losing over $450 million of its investors' money, equivalent to $979,509,000 in 2024, almost $1 billion. In court documents, Hoffenberg claimed that Epstein was intimately involved in the scheme. Epstein left the company in 1989 and was never charged for involvement in the massive investor fraud committed. It is unknown if Epstein acquired any stolen funds from the Tower Ponzi scheme. In 1998, here, the Limitless. This is, I guess, some sort of yacht that's being pictured for some reason. The Limitless. In 1988, while Epstein was still consulting for Hoffenberg, he founded his financial management firm, J. Epstein and Company. The company was said by Epstein to have been formed to manage the assets of clients with more than $1 billion in net worth, although others have expressed skepticism that he was restrictive of the clients that he took. only less publicly known billionaire client of the only publicly known billionaire client of Epstein was Leslie Wexner, or Wex Wexner, chairman and CEO of L Brands, formerly The Limited Inc., and Victoria's Secret. In 1986, Epstein met Wexner through their mutual acquaintances, insurance executive Robert Meister and his wife in Palm Beach. A year later, Epstein became Wexner's financial advisor and served as his right-hand man. Within the year, Epstein had sorted out Wexner's entangled finances. In July 1991, Wexner granted Epstein full power of attorney over his affairs. That makes sense, doesn't it? You just give somebody the full power of attorney over your affairs?
There's usually a reason for that.
You're a billionaire. You're a fucking billionaire, and you just, yeah, no, he can do it. He's got it. The power of attorney allowed Epstein to hire people, sign checks, buy and sell properties, borrow money, and do anything else of legally binding nature on Wexner's behalf. Epstein managed Wexner's wealth and various projects, such as the building of his yacht, the Limitless. Yep. He's just good like that. By 1995, Epstein was a director of the Wexner Foundation and Wexner Heritage Foundation. He was also the president of Wexner's property, which developed part of the town of New Albany outside Columbus, Ohio, where Wexner lived. Epstein, he made the town. Epstein made millions in fees by managing Wexner's financial affairs that he was in charge of. He made millions in fees and was in charge of the deals that took place. So he had a vested interest in signing and working as many deals as he could so that he would get fees off of it. Isn't that against the rules in some way?
I mean, the rules of ethics. But not law.
Well, isn't that like insider trading almost? Although never employed by L Brands, he frequently corresponded with the company's executives. Epstein often attended Victoria's Secret fashion shows and hosted the models at his New York City home, as well as helping aspiring models get work with the company. Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yes, helping them.
In 1996, Epstein changed the name of his firm to the Financial Trust Company, right? Because that sounds a lot more legitimate, Financial Trust Company. And for tax advantages, based it on the island of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. By relocating to the Virgin Islands,
Evasion, get it right.
right, Epstein was able to reduce federal income taxes by 90%. So, by moving to a tropical paradise where he literally had his own island, so he made the rules, he was then given exemption status or given the ability to be taxed 90% less than he should be. And so are we to believe that he's the only one that does this? Or did this? The U.S. Virgin Islands acted as an offshore tax haven while at the same time offering the advantages of being part of the U.S. banking system. In 2003, Epstein bid to acquire New York Magazine. Other bidders included advertising executive Donnie Deutsch, investor Nelson Peltz, media mogul and New York Daily News publisher Mortimer Zuckerman, and film producer Harvey Weinstein. Seriously, I couldn't make this any, like, if I was making this up, I wouldn't think to make it this obvious, because it wouldn't be believable. He's associated with with Weinstein. The ultimate buyer was Bruce Wasserstein, a longtime Wall Street investment banker who paid $55 million. So again, we're talking about one of his failures instead of one of his successes for some reason. In 2004, Epstein and Zuckerman committed up to $25 million to finance Radar, a celebrity and pop culture magazine founded by Mayor Roshan. Mayor Roshan is an Iranian-American editor. Gosh, that's weird, working with Iran, huh? Epstein and Zuckerman were equal partners in the venture. Roshan, as editor-in-chief, retained a small ownership stake. It folded after 3 issues as a print publication and became exclusively an online one. Epstein was president of the company Liquid Funding Ltd between 2000 and 2007. The company was an early pioneer in expanding the kind of debt that could be accepted on repurchase, or the repo market, which involves a lender giving money to a borrower in exchange for securities that the borrower then agrees to buy back at an agreed upon later time and price. Wow. It's like a pawn shop. That's so fucking crazy. This is how they set up for the financial crisis. The innovation of liquid funding and other early companies was that instead of having stocks and bonds as the underlying securities, it had commercial mortgages and investment-grade residential mortgages bundled into complex securities as the underlying security. Holy shit. Listen to this. I know you're not hearing me.
I'm listening.
The innovation of liquid funding and other early companies was that instead of having stocks and bonds as the underlying security, it had commercial mortgages and investment-grade residential mortgages bundled into complex securities as the underlying security. That's insane. And then you wonder where the housing crisis came from.
Right.
Liquid funding was initially 40% owned by Bear Stearns. Oh, that's weird. We go back to Bear Stearns. Through the help of the credit ratings agencies Standard & Poor's, Fitch Ratings, and Moody's Investor Service, the new bundled securities were able to be created for companies, so they got a gold-plated AAA rating. The implosion of such complex securities because of their inaccurate ratings led to the collapse of Bear Stearns in March of 2008 and set in motion the 2008 financial crisis and the subsequent Great Recession. Do you guys understand what's happening here? This is their way of acknowledging that Epstein was the catalyst for the 2008 financial collapse. Do you guys get that shit? If liquid funding were left holding large amounts of such securities as collateral, it could have lost large amounts of money, but it didn't. Hedge funds. Between 2002 and 2005, Epstein invested $80 million into the DB Swirl Special Opportunities Fund, a hedge fund that invested in illiquid debt securities. Market in business, economics, and investment. Market liquidity is a market's future whereby an individual or firm can quickly purchase or sell an asset without causing a drastic change in the asset's price. That's a different word. In November 2006, Epstein attempted to redeem his investments after he was informed of accounting irregularities in the fund. By this time, his investment had grown to $140 million. The DB Zwern Fund refused to redeem the investment. Hedge funds that invest in illiquid securities typically have years-long lockups on their capital for all investors and require redemption requests to be made in writing 60 to 90 days in advance. The fund was closed in 2008, and its remaining assets of approximately $2 billion, including Epstein's investment, were transferred to Fortress Investment Group when the firm bought the assets in 2009. Epstein later went to arbitration with Fortress over his redemption attempt. The outcome of that arbitration is not known publicly. Yeah, well, gee, I wonder what happened. In August 2006, Epstein, a month after the federal investigation of him began, invested $57 million in the Bear Stearns high-grade structured credit strategies enhanced leverage hedge fund. Bear Stearns high-grade structured credit strategies enhanced leverage hedge fund. This fund was highly leveraged in mortgage-backed collateralized debt obligations, CDOs, which was basically like they just created it. It wasn't a real thing. And the people left fucked are the people, all those people who got mortgages at rates they never should, mortgages for amounts of money they never should have been able to afford. What's that movie called? The big, what was it? It's a movie about this. It was actually a Hollywood movie, a big Hollywood movie, starring a bunch of people, and and it was all about The Big Short. Yeah, there you go. The Big Short. The Big Short is about this. They just make it all creative, and I think that character that's supposed to be the weirdo is to represent Epstein. But like, this isn't conspiracy theory shit. This is the truth as to what actually happened, instead of the "it did happen, holy shit, man, I hope nothing like that ever happens again." Like, it's a well-orchestrated plan. He didn't invest into all this because he wanted to lose money. He knew that all these collapses were coming because they were going to initiate it. They were going to do it. They were going to cause this collapse that they then made the money off of. On April 18th, 2007, an investor in the fund who had $57 million invested discussed redeeming his investment. At this time, the fund had a leverage ratio of 17-1, which meant for every dollar invested, there were $17 of borrowed funds. Therefore, the redemption of this investment would have been equivalent to removing $1 billion from the thinly traded CDO market. The selling of CDO assets to meet the redemptions that month began a repricing process and general freeze in the CDO market. The repricing of the CDO asset caused the collapse of the fund 3 months later in July, and the eventual collapse of Bear Stearns in March 2008. It is likely Epstein lost most of his investment, but it is not known how much was his. Yep, they have to throw that little bit in there to, they can't actually say that he lost it. And they're not going to say he made a fucking killing on it, right? No, that water they did in The Big Short. By the time the Bear Stearns Fund began to fail in May 2007, Epstein had begun to negotiate a plea deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office concerning imminent charges for sex with minors. Think about anybody else who gets in trouble for sex with minors like this and what happens to them. In August 2007, a month after the fund collapsed, the U.S. Attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, entered into direct discussions about the plea agreement. Why would he even get a plea agreement? What would be the purpose of giving him a plea agreement? What did he have to offer to get the plea agreement in exchange? Like, usually you get a plea agreement because you you tell your side of the story or you get somebody else in trouble or something. So what did he, you know, they're brokering a plea agreement. Well, what leverage did they have to broker with? Acosta brokered a lenient deal, according to him, because he had been ordered by higher government officials who told him that Epstein was an individual of importance to the government. Remember, this isn't a page that anybody can edit. This is the page, page is locked, meaning it's directly edited by Israel. It's directly controlled by Israel. This is the narrative that Israel wants us to know. And they're flat out telling you that Epstein had connections much higher than people realize. And that instead of getting in trouble like anyone else would, he was given this incredibly crazy sweetheart deal. When you ask for evidence, when you ask for proof of these crazy conspiracy theories and claims, you have to be willing to, you know, at least address the evidence that's presented. I mean, this is fucking insane. Ordered by higher government officials who told him that Epstein, as part of the negotiations, according to the Miami Herald, Epstein provided unspecified information to the Florida federal prosecutors for a more lenient sentence and was supposedly an unnamed key witness for the New York federal prosecutors in their unsuccessful 2008 June criminal case against the two managers of the failed Bear Stearns hedge fund. So why did he get it? That's not how we watch. My wife watches these fucking criminal shows all the goddamn time. They do not hand out deals for nothing. Your shit has to come to fruition, and you're still probably going to get fucked in the end. But if you don't, it's because you were very valuable to the system. Alan Dershowitz, one of Epstein's Florida attorneys on the case, told Fox Business Network, "We would have been touting that if he had cooperated. The idea that Epstein helped in any prosecution is news to me." So then why did he get the deal? Like, do you not get it? His attorney, Alan Dershowitz, who is still fucking a consultant in a high-ranking position in our narrative, he's saying, well, we didn't negotiate any sort of, he didn't give any sort of, we would have been touting it. If he would have cooperated and told on people, we would have been touting it. So then what is the reason he got the deal? If he didn't provide the information, then why would he get the deal? Israeli startup. In 2015, the Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported that Epstein invested in the startup Reporty Homeland Security, rebranded as Carbine in 2018. The startup was connected with Israel's defense industry. It was headed by former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who was also at one time the defense minister and chief of staff of the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. The CEO of the company is Amir Eliai, a special forces operative, and Pinchas Burkus, a director of the company and former Defense Ministry Director General and commander of the IDF Cyber Unit 8200. Boy, that's some high-ranking shit there, huh? Epstein and Barak, the head of Carbine, were close, and Epstein often offered him lodging at one of his apartment units at 301 East 66th Street in Manhattan. Epstein had past experience with Israel's research and military sector. In April 2008, he went to Israel and met with a number of research scientists and visited different Israeli military bases. Boy, that's interesting. This is a new ad. Video recordings. Epstein installed concealed cameras in numerous places on his property properties to allegedly record sexual activity with underage girls or prominent people for criminal purposes such as blackmail. I mean, this is right here. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's long-term girlfriend and companion, told a friend that Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands was completely wired for video, and the friend believed that Maxwell and Epstein were videotaping everyone on the island as an insurance policy. When police raided his Palm Beach residences in 2006, 2 hidden cameras were discovered in his home. It was also reported that Epstein's mansion in New York was wired extensively with video surveillance system. Maria Farmer, an artist who worked for Epstein in 1996, noted that Epstein showed her a media room in the New York mansion where there were individuals monitoring the pinhole cameras throughout the house. The media room was accessed through a hidden door. She stated that in the media room, there were men sitting here, and I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, bed, toilet, bed. She added that it was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. Epstein allegedly lent girls to powerful people to ingratiate himself with them and also to gain possible blackmail information. According to the Department of Justice, he kept compact discs locked in. Okay, so it's right here. According to the Department of Justice, he kept compact discs locked in his safe in his New York mansion with handwritten labels that included description, young person's name, plus the name of the person. Used to say any age. Epstein implied that he had blackmail material when he told a New York Times reporter in 2018, off the record, that he had dirt on powerful people, including information about their sexual proclivities and recreational drug use. That is fucking insane. We'll just have to come back because I just looked up his legal. I looked up the part that said legal issues, and it's by far the longest section on this page. Holy shit. Oh, we're going to have to do this tomorrow. Wow, that is fucking incredible. So, go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com, because even though it's titled the Bilderberg Group, it's not actually the Bilderberg Group. In the description, there'll be the links to all this stuff. Free download. All we ask is that you share it. You can donate. We appreciate the donations, but you don't have to. It's free. I want to leave you a link to Hollywoodism, which is the most important film ever made. It tells you all the secrets, and it's from their perspective, not mine. And I'm going to leave you 3 links to our newer songs, Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. Go check those out, the videos. Go share them with people. Go help, like, share, sub here. Do this, blah, blah, blah. Do everything you can to help out. We really appreciate everything you do. And just have a great day. Most importantly, you pedophiles, kill yourself.